Hey people, this is Athenar from the band called Midnight, and you're listening to Interview Under Fire.
All right, everyone, welcome back to a brand new edition of Interview Under Fire. This is your host, Sunny, as usual. And today I'm joined by the talented mastermind known as Athenar. It's an honor. Thank you so much for joining our IUF series today. Now, Athenar, this is an exciting time of the year for Midnight with the release of your fifth studio album, Let There Be Witchery, which drops here on March 4th on Metal Blade Records. Let me begin by commending you on all the well-deserved reactions this has been getting so far, especially with that recent single that dropped, Sex Witchery. Shout out to Metal Blade and Nikki over at Breaking the Law for being a part of this recent journey. A lot of amazing things to unravel about this hellblazer of a record and who you are all about. But before we get to all that and beyond, Athenar, we talked about it before the interview started, man. How are you? I can't help but ask. I know it's been a wild ride for all of us here in the last 2 years. How have you been keeping up with your musicianship and everything that's been going on? What's life like in 2022, so to speak? So the floor is yours.
It's good, thank you.
All right, that's a wrap. That's a wrap, folks.
That would have been the best answer for that long introduction.
that is the best answer. For people who don't know, it's like early in the morning for us, but we're just kicking it here, talking about the music we love.
No, man, everything's been really as good as it can be. Just like all the news clips say, we're all in the same boat here together, and we got to get this together. So yeah, just been doing that too, man. Just hanging at home and making up tunes and recording them and having visions for the apocalypse, just like everybody else.
Yeah, and obviously having visions of the apocalypse, yet making the best of the situation is what we got to do, right? But here we are talking about the music we love. I want to cut to the chase here, Athenar, because this is definitely one of the more exciting releases within the first part of this year. Now, coinciding with this release, for people who don't know, you are also getting set to trek across North America alongside Mayhem and Watain and that Sanguine Sodomy tour next month. I know you're coming here on March 14th. I'm looking at the dates here in Dallas, Texas. Here's the thing, man. You've been at this for a while, whether it's with Midnight or Mach 2, Boulder, Destructor, Terminal Lovers, and that list just goes on and on. But now that you're back out on the road, what is it about performing live that you love the most, or maybe even miss the most? Would you say you have a newfound appreciation about it now?
Well, first of all, we're not out there yet. So
right, that's true.
So things don't happen like they did in 2020 when we put out the Metal Blade album, and then we set to go out and conquer the world and take over the masses, and then big shit happened. So and with that being said, like you just said, not taking anything for granted. Never really did, but just hope it happens. Just hope it happens, and we get out there and spread more disease, through ear holes.
The midnight disease.
What's that?
The midnight disease.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing that makes midnight are the live performances that you put on display. Does it also feel like you're taking on this different persona when you're on the stage, or is it kind of an extension of who you are as a person?
Well, I mean, it's definitely who I am. I mean, it's in there. It's just one of those ones that's you have to keep it. You have to keep that shit on lock.
Yeah.
So you can only let it out a certain amounts of time. Otherwise, you get arrested. Or you get sent to the funny farm. So there's I mean, it's definitely me. But there's definitely a click that turns when the gig starts.
Yeah, and I guess we'll kind of that we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and going as far as coming to live performance. And with this fifth album, again coinciding with this tour, is with this this album, Let There Be Witchery, drops March 4th on Metal Blade. Now, this is also the follow-up to 2020's album Rebirthed by Blasphemy, which to me, that was an outstanding, solid effort through and through. And it's quite the follow-up with Let There Be Witchery. I want to repeat it here because this is like the fifth album, right? Before we get into the core of this new record, Athenar, was there any such thing as pressure for you when you decided to sit down and write again for a new album, or even just a follow up? Considering we are well into Midnight's career at this point.
Yeah, there's no real pressure. I mean, because it's just me doing what I do. So if it was something unnatural, then it would be pressure, or if there would be something to live up to or whatever. But my expectations are always low for life. So
that's a good way to look at it.
No, there's really no expectations. If it's something that I like to hear, and I think it's good for me, then that's what it is. But there's really no like I have to sit down and write for this album, and because the contract is set, that shit doesn't faze me at all.
Yeah, and from songs like Telepathic Nightmare to Nocturnal Molestation, Snake Obsession, that was my personal favorite, all the way to Sex Witchery at the end. Top to bottom, to me, this was a prolific blend of the black and speed metal and even the dirty punk rock atmospheres. It was like a traditional sense of the genres that took me back to the days of bands like Venom, even Motorhead. I'll even throw Toxic Holocaust in there, but with a modern twist of everything that you are, everything that Midnight is about. And the flow here was so well executed. I feel like if you would spin this record in the 80s, it would fit right in. I'm getting older, Athenar, and sometimes staying true to tradition is a good thing. I wonder, when did the writing for Let There Be Witchery begin for you?
Well, yeah, I mean that's what you said there too, like all that stuff. From the time the band started, it's never been. There's no, at least in my ears, there's nothing post 1984. There's no thrash beats. There's no tip type of beat. It's all just that the fast as you can go type of Discharge or Motorhead beat. That's as fast as you can go. But when I started, so I'm sorry, I don't know if that answered any of your questions.
Yeah, I did. But yeah, it's all yours,
just
man.
Commenting on the 80s aspect of it. So, but that's just where I come from too, and that's just the kind of stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And it's the stuff I can physically play. I can't physically play Dave Lombardo thrash beats, so there's a bit of that to it too.
And I want to. No, go ahead. If you're going to finish that thought there.
Oh no! I just said that. Yeah. Well, anyway, the writing was just all pretty much during 2019, and then recorded it in January 2020, right before the what we just talked about here, the S show happened in 2020. So
I'm gonna use that as a bit. The S show. That's gonna be a sound bit. That's kind of code for like, all right, we know what we're talking about. I'm gonna quote you here because you said, "I always wanted it to be loud and nasty." So walk me through this, because I begin to think, how much did things change from when you first started composing on this album to where you ended up finishing it? Did a lot change in between? Did nothing change? Was there already a specific sound you had in mind with Let There Be Witchery from the start, or could you kind of just evolve into what it is, what we're hearing now?
Well, yeah, there's always a specific sound I have in mind. I mean, because I've always wanted it to be loud and nasty. It goes back to when I was 10 years old. So that's nothing has ever changed. But the thing about it is, I can know what I want to hear, but I can just explain it so much to Noah, who's recording the album, and he just does his best to try and get it there. And then sometimes it's cool because he can have stuff that comes out completely different, that I would have never thought about, like sound wise. And I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good too, let's do that. So but generally, I mean, it's heavy metal and rock and roll. It's supposed to be not pretty, it's supposed to be not well rounded. It's supposed to kind of be rugged, rough. So
yeah, and you kind of set me up for this next one, because the production, that was a big part of this album that I really liked. Those traditional sounds that I mentioned earlier, right? It had, I think a lot of that had to do with that dirty sound mix I sensed within the production, between producing, mixing, and mastering. This was also recorded at Mercenary Studios in Cleveland, Ohio, alongside who you mentioned, producer Noah Buchanan. Talk about all this for a minute here, Athenar. I'm sure there was that sense of comfortability in studio for you knowing you had someone like Noah working on this record with you, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where we have band rehearsal and stuff, so it's real easy. It's not like I got to pack up a bunch of shit, go head into the studio or whatever, and I'm holed up here for this. So it's really comfortable and simple, which is the most important part for me, because simplicity is the key to a lot of stuff. So why make things more difficult? But that's the oh man, I got my train of thought just.
We're trying to think. We're trying to think early in the morning here.
A certain singer from Testament here that just.
I put Athenar on the spot here for people who already know. Like we had Chuck Billy on the show not too long ago, and I told him about all the amazing stuff that Chuck said, and like the introduction with these all these artists that we walked them through. It's kind of just I kind of set the tone here for the interview already. But Athenar, man, I gotta say, because between writing and structuring the songs and the production process, like we just talked about, I'm gonna say something here.
There you go. That's what. Yeah, and part of the production,
whatever that word is.
It's because I just use drums and guitars, and there's nothing locked to a grid, or there's no, it's still recorded as organic as possible. There's no click track. There's no. So that's part of it too. That's part of it where you got keeps it real.
Yeah. Now, was this recorded live or it wasn't? I remember it was briefly mentioned somewhere where during the production process. Is this something that you did, like just go all guns with just with the live production, or did you kind of just do it separately and then put it together?
It's still on me, so I have to do it separately.
Yeah.
There's no I said, no click track, no electronic drums and stuff like that.
There's no Athenar 1, Athenar 2, or 3, right?
Yeah.
That'd be something though. But I was gonna mention after the with the production process, which we talked about, I was gonna mention these names here. All right. Now, for people who are keeping score at home, Satanic Royalty, No Mercy for Mayhem, Sweet Death and Ecstasy, Rebirth by Blasphemy. These are album titles. Now I gotta ask, because what is it about maintaining this whole tradition of using 6 syllables within your album titles? What is all that about? We should end it right there. Don't even go into it any further. That's it.
It's the first 2 started out accidentally,
Okay.
And even the comp album, from Hell's Headbangers, a complete and total hell, that's still 6 syllables too. So you can't get away with it even from comp stuff. But it just happened naturally. So it's like, okay, well, the devil's on my side with 666 is 6. So it just still continued. I don't think anybody caught on to that. I knew it, but I don't think anybody else caught on to it until at least Rebirth by Blasphemy. Like, oh, wait a minute. You got something going here. But
yeah, when I read the album title, Let There Be Witchery, I was like, wait, I got to go back and see this. Like, this is great shit, man. I've never seen anyone do it like the way that you're doing it. And again, as a tangent, lyrically, the record is, again, quoting you here, unfiltered, savage, animalisticness. Of course, the deeper and dirtier, as if the listener were so inclined to dive into it. But Athenar, I began to think, like, how important are themes to you? Is there one? Is there many? Was that a big component of songwriting for you, or was it just like, I don't give a fuck, I'm just gonna write what I'm gonna write?
Well, yeah, that's always it. I'm always gonna write what I'm gonna write. There's no other outside producers, or because once you try to even censor yourself of what you're gonna write, it's like, well, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
So any of that stuff is just, it's all experience and life. So there's no point in censoring your own life.
No, not at all. And we've covered a good amount of ground on this awesome interview, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing so much about who you are and what Midnight is all about, from the different experiences and perspectives in your timeline that you've taken in, which you've discussed about so far, and performing for as long as you have, and the people you've met and worked with during this record, your previous records. And Midnight, this was supposed to be a side project from the beginning, and here you are now with 5 albums under your arsenal, and I'm excited to see where you go from here. This is definitely something that you have a passion for, and the truth is from what I'm seeing, you've experienced plenty already in your career, Athenar, and then some. Have your aspirations as a performer, or hell, as a human being, have they changed or evolved since when you first started performing in the industry? Like, do you see things differently today?
I guess, I mean, yeah, as human, sure. I think I think I see things differently. I mean, the older we get, like you said, we're these visions of mortality, as the Celtic Frost song says. I mean, we're getting closer and closer to the grave, so you start to appreciate shit more and more. So you're like, well, shit, man. The clock's running out. You realize your clock's running out. I'm on the back nine of the golf course right now, and it's so you just got to appreciate all the shit that happens, from the smallest stuff to the biggest stuff. So for a while there, as a young person, you're flying by the seat of your pants. You don't give a shit, and I still don't really give a shit, but you can appreciate not giving a shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And if it's anything that the last 2 years have taught us, it is definitely that. Has the anticipation kicked in for you, Athenar? Like, I know you haven't played the tour yet, but I know it's coming around the corner. Like, do you kind of have to rev yourself up? Like, I don't know, because we've been home for the last 2 years. Like, how do you gear up for something like this again?
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I mean, it will be weird. I'm still not gonna believe it until we're in the van on the way to the gigs. Or so until then, it's still anything can happen. So, but from what I hear, the other bands have their visas and everything's worked out, and everything is a go. So
yeah,
I guess it's exactly pretty much a month away from right now.
And I'll be looking forward to that date here in Dallas. I'll be here. I'll probably be the one going batshit crazy in that circle pit. Whatever. It's going to be a great time. Like, it's nice to have something like this to look forward to. Now, before I let you go, Athenar, I know you're a big fan of theatrics. So am I. I went to film school for 4 years with just everything that, from the artwork to the songwriting to the just the presence that you exhibit on the stage. I gotta ask, what are 5 movies you could think of at the top of your head if I were to ask you right now, and which I am asking you right now?
5 movies of what?
Let's do 5 horror movies.
5 of my favorites?
Yeah.
In all actuality, I'm not like the hugest horror fan. I like them, of course, but I'm not like over the top gaga like some people like really delve deep into them. So I just like the more vanilla type of horror, I guess. Your Last House on the Left, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, yeah.
Stuff like that. So I'm not going, oh man, the director's cut of the 1969 whatever the hell. I don't go extremely deep into that. I love The Howling.
Yeah.
So like mostly like just like the popular 70s ones and early 80s horror that's the usual stuff that I go for.
Do movies play a big part within your inspiration for writing, or is it just like another?
Not really. Okay. Not really. I mean, maybe the movies. I would say. I mean, I love them. I watch movies, but I wouldn't say like, I'm gonna write a song about this movie, the topic of the movie. Not really. That never really happens. But it might come somewhere in the back of my head. Just the one that usually comes up is Rocky 3 for some reason. that's one that like that's when he just keeps it street all the times, man. Rocky, he thinks he's living the life of luxury. He's training really wimpy. He's just like taking pictures, but then Apollo comes in, then he gets his ass beat by Mr. T.
Yeah.
And then Apollo comes in and says, "Man, we got to fucking take it back to the street, man. What are you doing? You're getting soft." So that's the one that at least if I need some inspiration is Rocky 3 to take it back to the streets, man. Keep it street.
Now, as we're keeping it street, what is one since we're on the topic, we can dial it back with the horror. We don't have to do the horror part, but what's one thing that a show or a movie that you streamed in the last 2 years that really stands out that you'd recommend, and why do you recommend it?
Well, the last 2 years. I'm always a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David. So
my gosh.
Even during the pandemic, I just watched those over and over again. So, but that's not the. So I guess that might be the last 2 years. Just keep on watching them, even though it's not new.
Yeah,
the new season.
It's like watch what you're comfortable with, right? Like what you know, and kind of leave it in the background.
I love it, but no, actually, we've been watching Breaking Bad, and I know that's kind of late to the game with that too. And
I was late to that game, so I started after that entire show ended, and a lot of peer pressure. Same thing with Game of Thrones. I was always a late newcomer with every show that I like right now.
Yes, I've heard of that, of course, but yeah, never saw any of Game of Thrones, but.
I'm always one of those people like, oh, hey, you're watching the show. I don't want to watch it, because everybody loves it. I was always that asshole.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was. Even like as a kid, man. My dad would like, hey, come in here, watch this show. I'm like, if it's a fucking popular TV show, I'm probably not gonna like it. So I never even bothered. It's like, everybody loves it, whatever. I'm not gonna really, and maybe that's being a fucking jerk. But
no, the rebel in me is still there. The rebel in me is still there, and I'm proud of it. That's an extension of who I am. It's like, hey, if I like it, if I have an interest in it, I'll check it out. You just do what you're gonna do, all right? You go enjoy your day, bro.
Okay, yeah. I'll get there when I get there.
But Athenar, man, this has been an honor. Do you have any like last words? Just any shout outs, anything like to plug in or mention as far as Midnight and the new record before we finish things off here? I know we talked about that tour. But
no, man, I think you did a fantastic job of doing all that stuff for me. So,
all right, man.
I appreciate your interest in stuff, Sonny. It's cool, man, and you getting up early. I mean, shit, for me, it's 9 o'clock, but for you, man, it's 8, right?
It's 8, yeah, it's 8. I had to get up at 7. It's like, oh shit, I didn't want to oversleep, but hey, man, I do this for a reason, and it's a big part of giving people a chance like you a voice to talk about what you love, and metal is just the music in general is a big it saved my life, and it's something that I owe it to myself, and getting the chance to talk to you about something that you love. I think that's something, even though it sounds like a simple thing, it really is important to someone like me to connect with someone like you. And
well, it is. I mean, that's heavy metal and rock and roll. That's all I got in life too.
Yeah.
So it's the truth, and as far as, and just like we were talking about with popularity of movies or whatever, but no matter how popular we think heavy metal is still the underdog, and it'll continue to be underdog, and it's always looked upon as like the lowest form of music, So, but that's what I love, and that's what I'll continue to love.
Yeah, I kind of love it that it's always like that, because you kind of it fits our persona, and we're here because we love the music of heavy metal, and that's how we got connected. But on that note, man, Athenar, I hope you have a great kick-ass tour. Stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you here in Dallas. We'll stay in touch on the socials, man.
Say hello.
Yeah. I'll buy you a beer, man. If if we. You'll see me there.
Buy me some blue meth instead. Now,
hey, yeah. You know what? Why not?
Bad.
Yeah, it's we're getting old, man. Shit, let's just fucking do it. I don't give a fuck.
I want to try some blue meth before I die.
But man, hey, we'll stay connected on the socials, man. I'll keep you posted once this episode airs. Everyone who's listening, this is Athenar for Midnight. Let There Be Witchery drops March 4th on Metal Blade Records. If you could do us a favor, buy the album, because the bands can't do it without your help. You can listen to this podcast on all major podcast streams out there. Check us out on interviewunderfire.com. Athenar, again, thanks, buddy. We'll stay in touch. Have a great tour, and I'll see you next time, bud.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, man.
Take care. Bye.
The earth strikes. You must obey commands ordered. Now start to breathe. Raising the steps, the slits you will sink. Fragrance that leads you down. One kiss on the ramp, the fluid will leak. The box does amaze and astound. Perversion nests. Frothing
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Interview Under Fire podcast. If you guys liked what you heard, please subscribe and share our channel. And please leave a 5-star review, as that helps us tremendously. If you'd like to check out more, visit www.interviewunderfire.com or our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And finally, we want to thank you all for the support you've been giving us. Keep it burning.